We have some new people in here today, so I'm going to take a minute and do my normal, hello and welcome intro. So I'm BB3, and this is Nettie over here with MelNetteLivingFreeZipCodeless.
Yep.
We cover some true crime, some mystery, some hauntings. We do a live show every Sunday. We are not your typical true crime coverings because we do laugh and giggle because you guys over in the comments tend to keep us doing that. So we mean no disrespect to any of the true crime that we cover. So let's just get that out there right away. With that being said, welcome everyone new. We enjoy meeting all the new people and having all the input. If you ever want us to cover a story, make sure you drop it in the comments because we love getting new ideas for stories to cover. If you're just joining us on this journey, this is the third and final part to our Skidmore, Missouri series. So there's two other parts that we did in the last 2 weeks. So Tommy Travels, see, he's already starting it. He said, murder is hilarious. Heads in buckets, always funny. No, seriously, though, we do cover these stories to draw more attention to the victims rather than the murderers. But we do also try to understand maybe the side of evil because wrapping our heads around that is sometimes mind-boggling. Like
it is for sure. Yeah.
Right, Nettie? Like, why do people do these things? Also, if you hear some booms, what better time to talk spooky things than while thunderstorms are going on? So there's thunderstorms outside my house right now. So if you hear those booms, I'm sorry, I can't control the weather.
Spooky. It may be the girls behind you. You never know.
It could be the girls. I'm just babysitting the one. The other one is Nettie's. I'm babysitting her, and then one is mine. Johnny's Journey, thank you so much for the raid. We really appreciate it. And happy birthday to your daughter. All right, let's get into the welcomes real quick, and then we'll jump into our story. We had MelNettie, of course, in here first. We had Thin Blue Lane RV Life. Tommy Travels. The awesome Tommy Travels. Derek. I am not going to try to say the middle name. I'm terrible with the English language. Pronunciation. I couldn't even say the word pronunciation. Do you see how terrible I am? All right. But Derek Frampton, hello and welcome. We are honored to have you here with us.
Yes.
Linda Barker. The Sand Van, hello from Australia. Hello and welcome.
Wow.
Thin Blue Lane RV Life, I already said hello and welcome, but I'm so glad to have you in here, and it's good to see you doing better and in the lives. If you two get hellos from me, one, I am old, and two, just take the extra love. I will take all the extra love. Todd Johnston, hello, hello. All right. I never claimed to be normal, so the paranormal is up my alley.
Oh, great.
Good. Yeah. We do tend to cover true crime and the history of haunted places. I love doing those too. So we kind of cover both of those on Sundays. Larice, just say hello and welcome. It's always good to have you in here. And then we have Shanna Craft. Hello. All right. So let's jump in. Let you go first, Nettie.
Inside the devil's house, a killer cuts a baby out of an expected mother's womb. Missouri detectives were shocked. They learned someone has strangled Bobby Jo Stenneth and cut her unborn baby out of her womb. Who would do such a thing and why?
Skidmore, Missouri is known for its small town charms. Oh, it's charming, all right. I think we've all learned that in the last couple of weeks. But 18 years ago, it became the scene of an unthinkable crime that still makes seasoned authorities tear up.
On December 16, 2004, Becky Harper, the mother of 23-year-old Bobby Joe Stenneth, made an anguished call to 911 at 3:30 p.m. Harper said her daughter, who was 8 months pregnant, was at home on the floor and that it looked like her stomach had exploded.
I was just going to say, Thin Blue Lane said that would take a level of skill to perform without
Yeah.
harming the baby. You would think so, but then the mother's saying, the mother of the lady who had the baby cut out, that her stomach looked like it exploded. You know, babies are pretty protected in there. Um, so I don't, you hear of this quite often now, which is sickening.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. It's insane to me. Wow, so that baby is now grown if still alive, right?
Mhm.
Paramedics raced to the scene where they found Stinton, I can't say that name, dead. She had a jagged gash across her abdomen that exposed some of her internal organs. Randy Strong, sheriff of Nottoway County, said her unborn baby had been cut from her womb and was missing.
It's just unreal.
Yeah, I can't imagine, like, killing someone is one thing, disgusting, horrible, bad, evil. But you're taking their baby that they grew for 9 months, that mother connected to that child. That is an evil beyond evil.
Investigators found no sign of forced entry to the home, suggesting that Stenneth may have known the killer. An Amber Alert was put out for the baby. The FBI and the Highway Patrol joined local law enforcement on the case.
Detectives canvassed the neighborhood and found one witness who reported seeing a dirty red subcompact car parked near Stitnett's home that had never been in the area before. Police interviewed the victim's devastated husband, Zeb Stitnett, who'd met Stitnett in high school. Wow, they're just giving me that name right after another to say. Um, Also, I forgot to mention at the beginning of the story, we did say that in the very first part one of Skidmore, Missouri, we were going to talk about Ken McElroy's wife, that we were going to give more information about her as far as her age. Was she young when he met her? How old was she exactly? So we're going to cover that today. So stay tuned because you're going to be blown away by her story. So we're going to go over that today. Nettie found out a whole lot of information on
Oh,
her.
oh yeah.
Oh,
Oh, such a beautiful couple.
can you? I mean,
Yeah.
they were just starting out their life, like just getting started. He said, "Just." Thin Blue Lane said, "Just say her."
He claimed he left home at 7 a.m. for work at a manufacturing plant and had nothing to do with the crime. His alibi checked out and he was cleared as a suspect.
That's another really painful thing is they always have to clear like the husband or the wife when it comes to a crime. And can you imagine having to be cleared of whether or not you ripped your baby from your wife's stomach?
Yeah.
Ugh.
And just imagine the scene of the crime, the crime scene and how she looked. You're dealing with the loss of your wife and a missing child.
Okay, this is going to be gross. So, everybody, if you're not ready to hear grossness from me for a minute, plug your ears. But I'm sure that they don't see the actual body. Like the husband didn't come home and see the actual body. But has anybody else ever thought about, hey, Thrifty Angela, like coming home after a crime like that has been committed in your home? Like the blood that's left in the home and you
Yeah,
having to live there afterwards and like you having to clean that up. Like I've heard other families talk about having to go in and clean that kind of stuff up. And the things that they found left over from after the police have investigated and all that stuff, and them having to kind of clean that up. Some people hire a company to come in and clean it, and some families come in and clean that stuff up themselves. And oh, I cannot imagine the trauma. Yeah, Thin Blue Lane said
yeah,
secondary trauma. So he knows that I'm assuming that's you, Bill, but maybe Nancy's there too. I can't imagine that trauma that leaves behind. Not only are you dealing with the fact that you've lost that family member, but the cleanup and because in normal life, you're never going to see anything like that. But
yeah.
in the fact that you lose somebody that way, then you're also, I just can't even imagine. Nancy's visiting her mom. Okay. We'll tell her we said hello, please. Yeah, I can't imagine. Anyway. Did we read this?
Yeah, I just read it.
Investigators learned that Stinnett bred and raised rat terriers. They also found out Harper spoke on the phone with her daughter at 2:30 p.m. on the day of the murder. Aww.
Yeah. And that's them in the corner, on the right corner, holding the
Yeah,
terrier.
right. So he's in the like maroon flannel. She's in front of him with the
Yeah.
ribbon on her tummy there, holding the
Mhm.
dog.
Stinnett had exchanged emails the night before with a woman in Fairfax, Missouri, about 20 miles from the crime scene, who wanted a puppy. And a woman was with Stinnett when her mother called. Detectives narrowed the window of the slaying to between 2:30 and 3:30 that afternoon.
I just realized it's pouring down rain and my son was walking home from work.
Oh,
It just dawned on me that like he must have gotten caught in the downpour. Luckily, I mean my camera shows he was walking in the downpour, but I'm sure he's soaked. Um A forensic search of Stitnett's computer was carried out by Curtis Howard, a retired detective sergeant, Electronic Crimes Unit, St. Joseph PD. Wow, that's a title. He found that the woman inquiring about the dogs called herself Darlene Fisher. Deeper digital analysis was done to determine more about her. Hey, Hitman, how are you? Long time no see. Oh no, he's going to be wet. Yeah, I'm sure he's soaked. As an investigator, seeing the aftermath as family members arrive and you have to keep them out, it's tough. I've shed many tears, not ashamed of it.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how police or investigators handle everything they see either.
Yeah.
My heart goes out to all of first responders, investigators, everyone. The trauma you all incur.
Mm-hmm. At the same time, an autopsy report revealed that Stinnett had been strangled, but the cause of death was severe loss of blood. She bled out from the crude C-section. Blood between the victim's toes indicated that Stinnett was standing at one point during the attack.
That makes me sad because that means she tried to fight hard.
Mm-hmm.
No, the whole thing makes me sad, but knowing how hard she tried to fight.
Yeah.
Investigators believed Stitnett was unconscious after being choked out, but came to when the knife was plunged into her abdomen. She was trying to fight off this attacker to save herself and her baby, said Strong. So she was choked out and passed out, was on the ground, then stabbed in the stomach to try to cut the baby out, and stood up after being stabbed in the stomach to try to fight off the attacker. That is a hell of a strength of a woman trying to save her baby.
Yeah.
Just, you keep missing me. I miss you. Anyone doesn't know, Hitman over here has been with me since the beginning of my days on YouTube, which is probably 6 years now, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So he's been with me a while.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Ooh.
Add to our spooky tale.
At first, I thought it was your stomach growling, but I'm like, oh no.
The whole house is rumbling.
Wow. There's multiple reasons why somebody would want to steal an infant child. One of them being to sell that child on the black market, explained Dr. Kate Termini, a forensic psychologist.
Ah. She might have put her feet down in prone position to push away her attacker. Either way, gruesome.
Yeah.
True. On December 17th, a woman in Texas called in with a tip regarding a woman named Lisa Montgomery, whom she'd met at a dog show. Montgomery, like Stitnett, raised rat terriers. Montgomery, the tipster said, gave birth the same day Stitnett was murdered. I think it sounds personal too, but given this part of the story, to me, it sounds like
Mm-hmm.
like they were competing rat terrier, which this sounds so stupid to me. This sounds so stupid to me. But it sounds like they were both raising and breeding rat terriers, and maybe Stitnett was the top breeder in the area, and this Montgomery chick was not doing as good breeding the dogs. And so she was like, oh, I want a baby, and I can take out my competition. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, as stupid as that sounds like maybe that was what was going on. Yes, yes, then Blue
Mm-hmm.
Lane. She may have been jealous and wanted to take over the life of the victim. I know, but psychological profiling. Yes. Yeah, you said it much,
Mm-hmm.
much more eloquently than good old redneck me, but
You just said it where people can understand, and he said it,
I said the dumbed down version.
right. Officials searched for Lisa Montgomery and found that she lived in Malvern, Kansas, 170 miles from Skidmore. Detectives headed out to interview her.
Yeah, it sounds crazy but possible. And honestly, that's what like people have become. I don't know if they've become or always been that way, but at this point, people want, they take. Like that's the way the world is
Yeah.
becoming nowadays. People want, they take. How long ago was this? Nettie, do you remember what year this was in?
It was in the early 2000s.
Yeah, the early 2000s. Then
I'll
Blue
be a
Lane
bit.
said 18 years ago. Oh, yep, she looks angry.
Oh my gosh.
At the same time, the forensics analysis of Stitnit's computer revealed that Darlene Fisher emails had come from a computer registered to Kevin Montgomery, Lisa's husband. Linda said 2004.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Thank you, Linda.
Thin Blue Lane said, what you said is why you should carry, not that it would have helped in this particular situation.
The FBI agent surveillanced the Montgomery home where a dirty small red car was parked. The vehicle matched the description of the car seen near the crime scene a day earlier.
She took her own car, emailed from her home computer. Like, how did she think that she was going to get away with all of this?
Exactly.
Around 1 p.m., Lisa and Kevin Montgomery were observed by authorities arriving home with a baby. Skidmore detectives arrived on the scene a short time later. Also, like, the husband, she shows up with a baby?
Yeah.
You know, questionable.
As they approached the home, said Strong, we didn't know if we were getting ready to walk into the devil's house, he told Kevin Montgomery, who was cooperative, that they were investigating an Amber Alert and checking out all recent births. Inside the home, officials saw Lisa Montgomery seated on a couch holding a baby.
Detectives saw that the baby was breathing and took care not to alarm Lisa in any way that might cause her to harm the infant. Lisa said she'd given birth the day before at a birthing center in Topeka, Kansas. She had no discharge papers. Oh, Thin Blue Lane. So she told everybody, remember the person that gave the tip said she told everybody she gave birth the same day as Stitnit. So her story was she gave birth to this baby. I'm wondering if she told her husband the same thing. We shall see.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Detectives saw that the baby was breathing and took care not to alarm Lisa in any way that might cause her to harm the infant. Lisa said she'd given birth the day before at the birthing center in Topeka, Kansas, but she had no discharge papers. Did we just read this?
We did, but I'm laughing at Thin Blue Lane. He said, I'm reading it as if I'm narrating it because he narrates stories. Yeah, we just started, but that's okay. I'll go to the next one here. Oh, so beautiful. All right, this one. Read this one.
Okay. Round 2. Investigators discreetly called the center and discovered that there had been no births there on December 16th. Detectives asked Lisa if an agent could hold the baby while they talked further. Surprisingly, she said sure. And Kurt Lipnovich, a former FBI special agent, said.
She's like, sure, here you go, hold the baby. Jeez.
Yeah.
When she was separated from her husband, Lisa told officials she gave birth at home with help from 3 friends. Asked for the names of her helpers, Lisa changed her story again. They weren't with her. They were on call.
She didn't need anybody there to give birth.
No. Hey, happy place. I love that you're over there practicing the reading.
Yeah.
Thin Blue Lane, that's funny. I would love to get into that narrating stuff, but I am so bad at pronouncing words. Like I wish I could pronounce things better because I love reading, like narrating stuff. I love it, but I cannot pronounce words good enough.
I'm the same way, BB.
But I love changing the pitch of my voice and like reading stuff out loud. I love doing it, but
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
there had to be blood in the vehicle and all over her clothes. You would think so.
You would
Yeah.
think so. Yeah. As these investigators start to peel away the layers, they're boxing her into a corner, said retired LAPD investigator Tracy Benjamin. She's losing ground. She knows that they're onto her.
Wondered where she hid the clothes and how she cleaned the car. Yeah, me too. Eventually, Lisa broke down. She admitted that the baby was Bobby Joe Stinton's. Investigators determined that her husband was unaware of his wife's criminal actions. She had convinced him that she was going to have a baby, but tragically, the baby was Stinton's unborn child. This I struggle with. How did she and him have intimate relations for 9 months and he thought she was pregnant? And then she
Yeah.
just shows up one day with a baby with no papers, no nothing. Like, how? How? I don't understand. Like, I don't understand. Try this one. You've got mail. Tommy Travels. You've got mail.
Plus, how was she able to show throughout that time, that she was pregnant?
Yeah.
What if she had to get undressed to get into bed with them? So how
Well, that's
was
what
she?
like,
Yeah.
and you have to have had intimate relations with your husband in 9 months' time, right?
Yeah.
And like, even if you are one of those rare cases where you don't show that you're pregnant, you would like have to have some kind of something in there. You know what I mean? Like your
Yeah.
husband would see something, and that does not add up. That does not add up.
Mm-mm.
Tommy Travels, by the way, you have the voice that needs to be on radio and commercials, and like your voice needs to be narrating stuff. Needs to be.
Oh yes,
Thin,
I agree.
Thin Blue Lane, you're amazing at it too. But Tommy Travels, you need to be doing it as well. Okay, sorry, back to the story. But yeah, I don't get how the husband supposedly was
Didn't
clueless.
know. Yeah.
It doesn't add up. I was thinking I heard somewhere that she put on weight. Put on weight still doesn't add up to me because there is a very specific way that a baby is like, no. You can put on weight and look heavy set, but the baby is going to be hard in there. So. Okay, first I'm sad. First I'm sad, and then I'm happy.
I know. I'm just glad that the baby wasn't injured. It's a tragedy that Bobby Joe got killed, but she could have severely injured this baby the way she did that terrible C-section.
Yeah. Oh yes, I think there would be specific things Thin Blue Lane that he would be great at narrating. But yeah, definitely. Yeah, I don't know how you look at this picture though. They're both smiling.
Yeah.
And don't feel like I'm sad for what happened to her, but I look at this picture and feel joy because she created this baby, and this baby is so cute.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you could get a picture of the husband too smiling, this would be a beautiful, joyful picture.
She had to know that there was a huge risk that Bobby Joe would die, said former NYC prosecutor Beth Carras. She intended to cut that baby out of her womb and leave this woman bleeding on her floor.
So Happy Place said, yeah, but would the husband be aware of that if never experienced? Okay, so here's where I struggle with this because there's been a lot of husbands in these type of situations that claim that they didn't know. Here's where I struggle. Doctor's appointments. So you're a first-time dad and you're not going to any doctor's appointments. You're a first-time dad and you aren't helping pick out formula or clothes or What about your mom? Is your mom not questioning anything? Like, and these,
Ultrasounds?
yeah,
Pictures of
ultrasound,
that?
all of these things that are supposed to be, man, my hair is driving me nuts. All of these things, I am sure that someone was questioning things, and that person or persons that were questioning things should have gone further with questioning things, especially when the baby showed up and there was an Amber Alert for this missing baby on the same day that this baby showed up. That's where I struggle. Is, okay, say that it was first time dad and you didn't know, and this is in many cases, not just this case, but say that it was questionable and you're a first time dad and you don't really know. I get it. Okay. But there's something in the back of your mind. There's steps along the way. There's something raising red flags. And when those red flags are raised, you have a responsibility to move forward with checking things out. And 100% when Amber Alerts were going out and your baby came home on the same day and you had those red flags, that's where I think you move forward and do a little more investigation. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think you fail that child if you don't. My opinion, though. And I think that's how these children are being failed along the way. There's so many kids being failed that way. You'd think she would have been having hubby feel her belly, feel it kick. Yes.
Exactly. And
my daughter knows.
every woman has, when you're pregnant, you have that birthing line. You know what I mean? So that wasn't even there. You have that line on your belly.
Yeah, some people don't get it, the birthing line, but you would get like stretch marks or like the ultrasound or the doctor's appointment. And let's say all of that is a miss. In my eyes, if the husband wasn't going and doing all that stuff, then he, at the least, he's a deadbeat dad already before the kid's born, which is another red flag about him. I don't know, in my eyes.
There's something wrong with that.
If he's not worried about going to doctor's appointments, if he doesn't care about, that he wasn't there for the birth of the child, then he's not a very good dad. You know what I'm saying? Then Blue Lane said, I guarantee the husband knew she didn't have that baby. Too stupid to raise a child. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying. Like, it's one or the other. He was either should not have children ever, or something was really wrong. I'm sorry, I went on a little rant there, but it makes me very angry that this man did not notice something was really wrong from the beginning. Hey, Lucky Dog Productions moderator Sue. Hello,
and Sue.
Maybe she was used to delivering rat terriers by C-section. That's a good point. Maybe she had some experience in delivering the dogs.
Yeah.
And so she was able to successfully deliver the baby. This is true. Oh, he had to know. She probably threatened him or something. Maybe. All right. We read this one, correct?
Correct.
Let's go to the next one. Dad with baby ripped from mom's womb. Oh, can you imagine how good it felt to have that baby back in his arms?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Inside her red car, they found a note with the victim's address on it, a bloody knife, and a rope knotted with hair. A search of the suspect's computer revealed that Lisa had tracked Stennett's pregnancy through pictures, researched cesarean sections, and arranged a meeting on December 16th.
This is another one I don't quite understand, Happy Place, but I have looked into this a little bit because it very much confuses me. And apparently, some women's uterus is placed differently in the body, and
Yeah.
so they won't feel it kick because of where it's placed. So, and apparently, like, they don't gain a lot of weight.
Yeah.
If everything's just right genetically, it is possible for a woman to not know she's pregnant. So the uterus has to be placed in this specific area. They have to be genetically not able to, or genetically disposed to not gaining weight. There's like a combination of several different things. Or they have to be very overweight so that if they gain weight, they're not even going to really notice they gained weight.
Yeah.
And then their uterus is in this specific spot. There's like 3 things. If those 3 things happen, then you can miss that you're pregnant. One of them is not having periods. If you typically don't have a period, then, so that's one of the 3 things.
Mm-hmm.
That's how missing a period or becoming pregnant and not realizing it as a woman can happen. But yes, that's kind of mind blowing as well. I would think you would always feel that.
Yeah.
But scientifically, there are reasons for that. But it still blows my mind that you wouldn't feel a living thing inside your body. But happens mostly to overly obese people. Yeah, it can happen to thin people too, though. Strangely. I first suspected I was pregnant when my feet swelled. You said it. We think alike. Well, if a woman cannot know she's pregnant, then there's a possibility that a husband could not know. I agree to a certain extent. Yes. To a certain extent. If those 3 things were in line and the woman was not showing at all, then yes, the husband would not know. This situation, completely different. All right. Next. She said she gave birth at home. I think he would know if she gave birth at home.
Yeah.
The evidence was overwhelming that this was a premeditated, cold-blooded murder. Lipinovich?
The bitch.
She planned it. She executed the murder. That's true. Happy place. That is very true. Especially if he was very uneducated or just plain stupid. Yeah, or scared.
Mm-hmm.
I will murder you if you tell anyone that I came home with this baby.
I know how to give you a cesarean.
Yeah, I will give you a cesarean, only I'll cut off parts that you like. Yeah, I agree. He should have known it wasn't born at home. Scared of her is a huge possibility. Yeah. I think it was more that, that he was scared of her. Family members of murdered Bobby Joe Stinton from left, brother Tyler Harper, mother Becky Harper, and husband Zeb Stinton. Man, I can't even imagine this family's nightmare. They were all excited to be having another family member join them, and they lose her.
Now, Lisa Montgomery was charged with first-degree murder and faced the death penalty. Her trial began on October 2nd, 2007, where the defense claimed that Lisa had suffered abuse as a child and didn't understand her actions. Really?
I hate when people say that stuff.
Yeah.
I was abused as a child, so that means that when I went and cut out that baby, I didn't know that that was wrong. How? How did the one justify the other?
Mm-hmm.
But on October 22nd, 2007, the jury returned with a guilty verdict. On January 13, 2021, Lisa Montgomery, 52, was executed by lethal injection. Woo! Thank you, Missouri.
Yeah.
They held nothing back on her oh, words are not my friend today. Judgment? Is that what it is? No, yeah, I guess it would be judgment. Like what they handed her down, they didn't hand down sentence.
Sentencing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sentencing. They didn't hold back when they sentenced her. A lot of us were abused and we turned out okay. Exactly.
Exactly.
You can choose verdict. Yeah, Tommy Travels. Thank you. You know, you can choose what route you want to take. You can choose to use it as an excuse to further your bad actions, or you can choose to use it as a reason to be kinder and loving and do better in the world. You can choose which route you want to take.
Yeah.
Hey, Timmy Ray.
Obviously, they didn't believe the victim's story, so she got it in the end.
Yeah. And see this stuff right here and this is the way I think our judicial system should work. If you are 100% guilty, there is no question. Like with her, there's no question. She had the baby in her arms. There was no question whether or not she did it. Then there should be no question about her sentencing. Now, if there is a question on whether or not the person is guilty, I can understand not doing the most with the sentencing. Okay. But if there is no doubt as to whether or not the person is guilty, then give them the strictest sentencing. Period. Yep. Stop playing around with these people. Executed by strangulation. Where did I see that? Here we go. Executed by strangulation and deballing would have been preferable. An eye for an eye.
Mm-hmm.
Nomadic Hippie, hello and welcome.
You're never late.
Yeah, like Nettie said, you're never late. Shanna Kraft said, hey, Timmy Ray, did you have fun racing last night up until the tires were all shot? Yeah, this was an open and shut case, if there ever was. Yeah. Give them a strict sentence and follow through with it fast. Exactly.
And then maybe, look how long she was there. It was 2021 when they finally executed her.
Yeah, our prisons are overpopulated because we give them chances for appeals and we do all these different things. If they're guilty and there's no question about it, just get them in and get them out and take care of what we need to take care of. Stop with all this nonsense. In my eyes, that's what we should be doing. My opinion. Ooh, that's scary though. That would right there keep me from doing any crime that would possibly land me in that thing. Thrifty Angela said, agree totally. Thin Blue Lane said, agree. Thrifty, I need to get over and watch videos. I am so sorry I've not been over there lately. I need to get over there. Anyone else needs to get over there and check her videos out? Get over there. She's got all kinds with Halloween coming up. I bet
amazing at her craft.
Oh and if you have not seen her videos, you need to get over there and check it out because I know with Halloween coming up, I bet she's got some great stuff over there.
Mm-hmm.
My turn.
She was the first woman executed by federal government since 1953. In 2021, the New York Post reported that Stenneth Baby, now a teenager named Victoria Joe, hasn't spoke publicly about the tragedy.
I bet that would be really difficult.
Yeah.
Nomadic Hippie says, I'm late. Is this the Wisconsin girl? No. This is a Missouri girl.
Skidmore.
Yeah. BB3 and Miss Nettie, me and my 23 friends are watching y'all in my friend's shop and working on my race car. Well, hello, all 23 friends of you. Thanks for watching. I love this community, really amazing people in here. Aw, I do too. My kids go back to school tomorrow, so I'll be able to catch up on video watching too. Gives me something to do in the car line.
Yeah.
Yeah. Girl, I don't miss those days. I only got one left in school. 2 more years and she's out. Student Bobby Joe Potter. 81 to 2004. So young.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Grizzly killing adds to town's notoriety. All 24 should log into YouTube so your host gets the views and the time. Thanks, Thin Glue. Joanne and A.B. Babe Stinton's granddaughter, Wendy Gillenwater, was born on January 19th, 1975, at the age of 19. Wendy moved in with her boyfriend, Gregory Dragoo. I think I'm saying that correctly. Mm-hmm. So let's break that down just because my brain's spinning at the moment. So Joanne and A.B. Babe Stinton's granddaughter. So this would be who, Nettie?
She is the granddaughter to the case that we just did on Stineth. So she's okay. Joanne's and Abe, granddaughter, Wendy.
Okay, so the case we just did, this is their granddaughter, and her name is Wendy Gillenwater. And we're going to continue on now. Now we're still in Skidmore, Missouri, everyone.
Yeah, this is the case that we talked about that doesn't have much information on it. I just happened to find this information when I went to the Find a Grave site, and this is how the story came about.
Oh, Shadowcraft, that's okay. I get behind on videos, but I try to go each week and like catch up on 1 or 2 people's videos. So if y'all catch me commenting on a bunch of videos in a week, that's because I'm spending that week catching up on your videos. That's how I got to do it these days.
Yeah.
I just jumped back into my photography business too. So that's kind of keeping me on my toes. So this is Wendy here.
That's Wendy. That's the only picture I could find. Greg was a violent and controlling man who frequently isolated Wendy from her family and friends. He had been described as a heavy drug user whose negative traits were amplified whenever he was under the influence. Like so many women in abusive relationship, Wendy was never able to escape.
Linda Barker, this is not the town bully, but we are the town bully's wife, but we are going to cover her. She's going to come at the end of the video here. We're going to talk about how old she was, how she ended up with the town bully, and it's going to blow your mind. I promise it's coming. That's how we're going to end the series. There's a lot of information we found on her, and it is mind-blowing. So hang in there.
After we do this short story, it's a real short story on Wendy. It's going to show the timeline of all these events where everything will make sense, because there's 3 cases here where they are family. There's one family with 3 cases. So it's going to make sense towards the end.
Yeah. So hang in there, and it's you're going to understand how she ended up with him, but hang in there. And then can someone who's a moderator please drop Thrifty Angela's link to her channel so everyone can check her out who does not have her yet. I'd really appreciate it. And then thanks, Happy Place, for coming in and checking us out. I appreciate it. And no problem, Timmy Ray. Thanks for watching us on the big screen. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. On October 16, 2000, Gregory Dragoo sat quietly on the front steps of his home at 406 East Elm Street as he waited for law enforcement officers to arrive and take him into custody. So all total in Skidmore, there are 4 cases of things that we were able to find that were the big cases. But this one was just kind of, there wasn't a whole lot of information on it.
Yeah.
Well, Nettie was able to find most of the info. I just led her to the stories. Gillen Water, Windy. Skidmore is Nightmare on Elm Street, Thin Blue Lane. Skidmore is really the Nightmare on Elm Street of places to live, I think.
When questioned, Drago told police that he had become irate with Wendy and lost all control. While some accounts state that Drago chained Wendy to his truck and dragged her through town, it is believed that Drago actually beat her to death with his bare hands.
Where were the towns? Again, Skidmore. Yes. What is going on in this town? You see a woman being dragged through the town? Yeah. What are you doing? Everyone owns shotguns in this little town. Why are you not shooting his tires out? Why are you not stopping this man from dragging a woman through the town and on the back of his truck? What is going on? I am just a woman who has been through hell and back, but I would be out there like trying to jump in his truck door and beat him down or something. Like, I would not just stand by. Well,
it sounds like the land is like cursed. I've seen that where there's like too much blood on that land and there's nothing good that comes out of it, you know?
Well, and police are just too far away. So everyone that lives there thinks they can get away with everything. Thin Blue Lane, maybe. Skidmore named after the dragging. Okay, that was insensitive. Not insensitive, kind of like maybe, I don't know. I doubt he dragged her. People would have called. No, that's the thing. Like, Thin Blue Lane, if you haven't seen the first to this series, go back and watch the first part to this series. Insensitive but funny. Linda Barker's right. Funny. The first part to the series talks about like the police are so far away that even if they come, they get there and everybody's scattered by the time they get there. So really no police to get you in trouble for anything. The town people aren't going to report that anything's happened because if they do, then they're going to get attacked. So they say nothing. So really, these townspeople get away with whatever they want to get away with, the bad ones. So,
and the good ones are scared, you know.
And the good ones are scared out of their mind and leaving. The town started out with like 400 people in it, and it's down to 180 people now because everyone's moved out of the town.
Yeah, it's pretty creepy. According to Greg, even as he punched, kicked, stomped, and pummeled Wendy, she never fought back. Despite this fact, Drago did not hesitate to kick Glenn Waters so hard that he bruised the top of his own feet.
I don't think she could have said anything to deserve that. But I think Tommy Travels was just joking. But yeah, I don't understand, like, no matter how bad this town is, and no matter how bad these bullies are, I still don't understand why these people are standing by and letting these men do this to these women. Like, I'm never going to understand that. Never. Too much blood on the land. Too much blood on the land is bad land. 12-year-old boy in me has a hippie. So how far away is this town in comparison to St. Louis?
Now, it is close to St. Joseph, I can tell you that. It's just like right down the street from St. Joseph,
St.
Missouri.
Joseph, Missouri?
Yeah.
Hold on, let me look this up then, because I was thinking it was further away than that. Hold on. I was thinking it was like 6 hours. Five hours and 5 minutes. Yeah, it's 5 hours. Hey, RV BFE. Hello, hello.
Very
So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. 5 hours. That's not too far, but it's enough of a way away. All right. During the beating, Wendy suffered 6 rib fractures on her right side and 8 on her left. One of her lungs was lacerated and collapsed. Her liver was lacerated and she suffered extensive internal trauma and bleeding. Ooh, Linda. Insensitive but funny. His name was Dragoo. An unfortunate name for unfortunate event. Her liver was so, oh man, I was surprised she survived.
She didn't.
Okay. So
Yeah, that she didn't
so she didn't
fight
survive
back.
I had the story mixed up then. I thought she survived the initial. I thought there was 2 things that happened to her. I'm mixing up something in my head then. Sorry.
It's okay.
I'm doing another story and I mixed up 2 events in my head. Sorry. Oh, man. Okay. Sorry.
Not content with merely pummeling Wendy's body, Greg also forced dishwashing liquid down her throat before dragging her body outside into the yard. As now the public beating continued, a neighbor came outside to see what was causing so much noise. And what they said is she never fought back. She never fought him.
Okay, but she survived up to a certain point. She was still alive when he was pouring the dishwashing stuff down her throat, right?
Right.
I guess that's what I was kind of trying to say, is that to a certain point she was still alive while he was doing some of this stuff to her.
Yeah.
I guess.
Okay. He eventually killed her, but yeah, she was alive during most of this beating.
Yeah, that's I guess I'm trying to say. And how can someone have that much rage and hate in them? Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out too.
Well, he's claiming it was the drugs that he was on.
I understand that because, yeah, drugs can make you do some insane things. They can make you eat people on there. Like, I don't know.
He found Dragoo standing in the yard with a lifeless figure at his feet and immediately called 911. Despite the best efforts of EMTs and doctors, Wendy Gilwater was pronounced dead at 5:13 p.m.
I would have dropped him where he stood and made a sandwich. In other words, clear conscience. Yeah. But that's what I don't understand. Like all these neighbors, again, like all
Yeah.
these neighbors are living in a very small town. They all have shotguns, not even just like handguns. They all had shotguns in the backs of their trucks hanging on the windows. This
Yeah.
is a small town where everyone's driving around with a gun on a gun rack in their truck. Why
Yeah.
didn't someone grab their gun and go and just
Yeah.
shoot us?
You don't have to even be close. You know, they're
No.
all good shots out there, you know, do it from
Yeah,
afar.
I don't understand. Just another happy fun day Sunday story. Wow, what a case. People can be so evil. I know.
Yeah. He looks like a winner.
Unreal. A shotgun would have hit the girl too. I don't know. She was on the ground, not moving. He was
Yeah.
standing,
Yeah.
you know? Her body had been so savagely beaten that her mother had to identify her by the rings she wore. Gregory Dragoo was ultimately sentenced to life in prison for second. Gregory Dragoo was ultimately sentenced to life in prison for second-degree murder. Tragically, just 6 months later, Joanne Stinton would mourn the loss of another grandchild, Branson Perry. So now we know that Branson Perry, Wendy, Glenwater,
And
and
Bobby Joe.
Bobby Joe Stinton were all related. All three of the stories that we've covered in the last 2 Sundays were all related. Something is not right there. And can we just go back to his sentencing? He's 100% guilty.
Yeah.
Why is he sitting in jail? Why was he not sentenced to death?
Yeah. Where does second degree come to play?
I don't care if he was on drugs. I really don't. He savagely beat and murdered this woman. Why was he not sentenced to death? So we're going to do a timeline breakdown now. Bizarre events of Skidmore, Missouri. So this, for anyone that's not been following all three parts, this is Ken Rex McElroy. He was on July 10th, 1981. If you haven't seen part 1, please go back and watch it. You're going to want to know about Ken. The town took care of Ken. The police wouldn't deal with him. He wasn't charged with anything, so the town took justice into their own hand. Thin Blue Lane, I swear you want to watch that one. It's a long
And
one.
in this breakdown, it is going to give you a little bit of each story. So you're going to get a little glimpse of each story right here.
You definitely want to go watch that one.
On July 10th, 1981, McElroy entered his truck after leaving a local bar. His wife was also in the truck. He was shot. Shots began to fire, and the town bully was dead.
No one stepped forward to cooperate. The residents wouldn't even help the FBI. McElroy's wife, Trina, who eventually remarried, witnessed the murder. She wasn't successful in bringing the killers to justice.
She wasn't successful in her $5 million lawsuit against the town of Skidmore either. She ended up settling for $17,600. It's believed the town got away with murder, but many were satisfied that he was dead.
That sucks. She only got $17,000.
Mm-hmm.
Wendy Gillenwater, October 16th, 2000. Is that where we should talk about Trina, or should we wait and talk at the end?
I think probably at the end. You think
Okay.
that's okay?
So we'll talk about Trina at the end. Hang in there with us. But
Yeah.
we're going to talk about Trina, the one we just talked about, McElroy's wife. We're going to talk about her at the end. Wendy Gillenwater, October 16th, 2000.
The death in Skidmore didn't end with McElroy. On October 16, 2000, Greg Drago violently killed his girlfriend, Wendy Glenwater, who was also a cousin to Branson Perry. So this puts everything in the timeline. So Wendy was the next story, and then so forth.
Her body was so badly beaten that her own mother could only identify her by the ring she was wearing. Dragoo was charged with murder and is serving a life sentence at the Western Missouri Correctional Center in Cameron, Missouri. Branson Perry, April 11th, 2001.
On April 11, 2001, Branson Perry just disappeared. There were rumors associated with some kind of drug involvement. The law enforcement believed the persons who caused Perry's disappearance were from Skidmore.
But just like McElroy's case, no one knows what happened to Perry, and he's been missing for 20 years. He had allegedly gone out to a shed to put jumper cables away, and he never returned. His case remains open. Bobby Joe Stinton, December 16th, 2004.
The death of Bobby Joe Stinneth, who was 8 months pregnant when she was murdered on December 16, 2004. She wasn't just murdered, her killer also cut her baby from its womb. Interestingly, Stinneth was also a cousin to Branson Perry.
Fortunately, the baby was safely found, safe in Topeka, Kansas, and returned to the father. The killer, Lisa Montgomery, was indicted and sentenced to death that occurred on January 13th, 2021 by lethal injection. Welcome to Skidmore, established in 1880. Population 284. Anybody want to go visit? Hang out in Skidmore? Want to go? All right. So now I'm going to share a little something with you all. Wait a minute. Where did it go? Hold on. All right. Close this. Oh boy, it keeps closing on me. Hold on one second. All right. So this is Trina Louise McNeely McElroy Williams. So she is Ken McElroy's wife at the time that the town took justice. So Linda Barker, this is who you were asking about earlier that we've been kind of teasing last episode and throughout this episode that we were going to kind of talk about. So one of the questions we had when we first covered McElroy's story in part 1 was, why did Trina go along with all of McElroy's bullying? Like, why did she bully other people in the town? Why did she, like, go up to people with guns and, like, pick on them? Why did she allow her children around this man? Like, why didn't she leave him? Like, why was she a part of this? Why didn't she, leave this this guy, because he was, anyone that hasn't really watched part one, this man was walking around town shooting people and getting away with it. And it was kind of BS. So why was Trina going along with it? Some of us were like, she was young probably because he was known to our people. Some of us thought, well, she didn't look that young. So Nettie and I said, we'll look more into it and kind of figure it out. So Nettie, I'm going to kind of hand it over to you here. You figured out she was actually very young when they met. So what did you find out, Nettie?
Yeah, what happened is he noticed her. It's almost like a predator would at a schoolhouse, checking out young girls, and that's why a lot of the towns were trying to hide their daughters from him. He noticed her getting on the school bus. She was 12 years old at the time, and the way his character was, he was so forceful. He would make the school bus pull over and try to get her off the bus to get into her truck. Well, eventually that happened. She ended up in the truck with him. He did what he did to her, and she got pregnant at the age of 14 with their first child. He was still married at the time. She was his third wife. And when she got pregnant, of course, the law came down on him. In order to get away with it, he divorced his second wife and married Trina. Now, his family was totally against it, but they didn't really have a say in it because, of course, he was a bully. He bullied them into saying he was going to marry her or he was going to injure them. And eventually he did. The girls, Trina and the second wife, I don't remember her name, Bibi. I don't know if you remember her name.
I could tell you in just a second. If you want to keep going, I'll tell you.
They escaped. They took off and went to Trina's parents' home when the law ended up capturing Ken.
Alice and Sharon.
Okay. While he was in jail, because he had that lawyer that got him off on everything. When he was in jail for a short time, Trina ended up getting put into like a shelter, like a women's shelter. Said her story, said what happened to her. She was severely abused. He would abuse all his wives. And when he got out, he went looking for her. Of course, he went to the mother's house. He ended up shooting the dog and burning down the house. So basically, we feel Trina was bullied in staying in that relationship. He found her and she ended up being back with Ken until he was murdered.
Yeah, it says that when the wives, any of them, went to town with like black eyes, busted lips, broken bones, any of that stuff, that the townspeople knew 100% that McElroy had done it, and they just didn't say anything or do anything because they didn't dare, try to help these women, because McElroy, of course, would come after them. And then it said when there was one time she had to go to the hospital, I guess, which was kind of what Nettie was talking about when he got caught.
Yeah.
And he actually faced charges, and that's when he burnt the house down. She had to go to the hospital because she was so injured. And the hospital was shocked, literally shocked by the condition that Trina was in, is what one of the articles say. The doctor was blown away that, like, I guess that she was walking around with those type of injuries.
Yeah.
And then was something else that Nettie had mentioned to me earlier. Something you had mentioned to me earlier, I wanted to say. You did cover that she was the second wife, but not really the second wife, right?
Right. She's actually the third wife. And
Yeah.
the second wife and Trina, the third wife, is they ran away together because apparently, he had them both in the house. He divorced the second to marry Trina so he wouldn't end up in jail because she was underage and she was pregnant. And that's when they both tried to escape, but he got them back and he severely beat them.
Yeah, they also had came to him with a complaint of some kind, and they got severely beat for coming to him with a complaint. And so they realized they were not allowed to come to him with
Mm-hmm.
complaints of any kind. Um, so, that I think our questions in the very beginning were kind of like, was she groomed? Is that why she went along with things? Blah, blah, blah. And then, we, in the beginning, kind of with the first
Yeah,
episode, we were wondering why she gave a name. Because she gave a name when the movie or because recently, or not recently, a movie was made and she gave a
yeah,
name finally, and we were kind of wondering why she did that. And I personally, my opinion is that she never made any money off of, she was poor, she suffered her whole life because of this man, and she didn't
yeah,
have very much money. And you just heard she got $17,000 out of suing the county for what she had been through with his murder and stuff. So she didn't get much. So when this production was being made and it involved her life, like, you have to understand, that's her husband and the man that put her through this hell. So she felt like I would think she felt like she was entitled to something. So if she gave a name, then I'm sure she would get paid something for the production.
yeah,
We don't know who that man is that she gave the name to. Maybe that was somebody else that abused her and did something wrong to her. Maybe
yeah,
that was one of McElroy's partners in crime. Maybe that was, and she gave, I'm just speculating here, my opinion. And maybe that's why she gave that guy's name, to get a little bit of money out of a bad situation that she lived through. Who knows? But this
yeah,
poor lady had been through hell and back from what Nettie discovered. So
yeah. And she
those are
was a
kind of my
child.
speculations.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she
she
was
was a
12 years
child.
old. Yeah,
And you don't
yeah. Mm.
ever recover fully from something like what she lived through. There's
And I
no
think
way.
that's why she had such a hardness about her when she was with him. Because, she's the one that was pretty upset about the candy incident at the grocery store, penny candy. And she cursed the clerk, but she
Mhm.
had to have that hardness because of being with him. She couldn't be weak. He was molding her into this evil being. So she
I'm
wouldn't get beat over it. She had to have a
I'm
strong
sure
exterior.
I'm sure too, like, living the situation I lived, and eventually I hope to be able to tell my full story someday, but living what I've lived, my kids were my world. They were my safety. They were what I protected. They were they were safe. Even if I wasn't, they were. And so I'm sure that someone blaming my kids would have made me react in a way of, oh, heck no, my kids didn't do that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think she probably reacted in a, no, 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 my kids didn't do that. And then he came in behind her and oh no, my kid. She said they didn't do it. They didn't do it. Like, you know what I mean? And I don't think she meant to start
Yeah.
up what he ended up doing. Um, I don't think anybody means to start someone up on that kind of rampage. You don't know what they're capable of or
Yeah.
what they're going to
Yeah.
do, you know, but a mama bear will protect their kids at all costs. And I'm sure that's all she was doing. You know what I mean? I think what you read through your research too, that you mentioned to me, was that she ended up being an amazing grandma.
Yes.
Um, and you know, that tells you she was probably an amazing mother. It's
Mhm.
just she couldn't get out of that situation. And that tends to be abused women's stories a lot of the time. Even when abused women get out of their situation, they're still never fully out of it until that
Yeah.
person is completely gone, you know? So,
And she was
just
only
food for thought.
52 years old when she passed, but she ended up living a happy life, as far as like you were talking about the grandkids. And she, at that picture we showed, she looked happy compared to her past life with him.
Yeah. I'm going to hop over here to the comments for just a minute because I've kind of let them go while we talked about Trina and explained her story, because I think her story is very important in the grand scheme of
Yes.
McElroy. You know, we touched
Mhm.
on McElroy a lot in part one. And yes, he is quite a story, but I think Trina, um, her overcoming and living for her grandchildren is huge after
Yes.
everything he put her through. And I think that's the beauty that came out of that hellacious evil. And taking that and remembering that out of McElroy's story, I think, and out of all of Skidmore, taking her beauty and remembering that, I think is
Yeah.
important. Unfortunately, she did pass away of cancer, I believe. Um, I had the picture up a minute ago. But she did get a beautiful life in the end before her passing. So
Yeah.
let's hop over here to comments really quick. Um, Nomadic Hippie says, I'm not sure where I sent it. Oh, okay. He's talking to Thin Blue Lane. Next time someone asks you why you need a gun, there is evil in the world. Most people are good, but 20 years of law enforcement taught me that there is bad and there is evil in the world. Yeah,
Sure.
I 100% agree. There is a lot more evil in the world than there used to be, for sure. Um, Worse than you can ever imagine. I agree. On a happier note, this is why I love our YouTube community. It restored my faith in humanity. I agree. Our YouTube community and others, you know, I've met other people online too that have really restored my faith.
Hmm.
I just watched a series on Netflix called Keep, Sweet, Pray, and Obey that was very interesting. I have heard of that and I want to watch that. I heard it's really good. I just watched the Bundy, the one other guy, Strange, trying to get into their heads. Not sure I want to. The Bundy one is good. I've watched that. We watched that one too. Tommy Travel is very bizarre. People are more brainwashable than I would have ever thought. It's
Yeah.
very easy to brainwash people, especially children. You can change a child's world with very simple. It's crazy. Um, I still want to hear Tommy Travel's narration. I think he'd be really good. I want to hear him read a book. Just like
Yeah.
pick a book and do a little video of you reading a book. And I want to go to bed listening to Tommy Travels read a sleepy time book. I think it would be fantastic video.
Make sure you say architecture.
Yeah. Can I include architecture a couple of times?
Yeah.
We have to run out of emergency. Okay. So the gentleman that did this, was he one of that in that prison photo. No, he was one. Okay, so Skidmore had 3-part series that we did, and the gentleman that did this, the town killed him. And no one knows who exactly in the town did it because there was more than one person with a gun that day. And so they were not able to narrow down who did it. The town took justice into their own hands because the police would not do anything about McElroy. That's in part 1 of the series. And then the guy that we showed in the police picture, these things all happened in the town of Skidmore. If you follow part 1, part 2, and part 3, there is 4 different crimes in this small town of only 400 people in the beginning. There was 400 people in this small town. There is now 187 people because this town is so bad, everyone's leaving it. You don't hear that about small towns very often. People can tend to be sheep, so it doesn't take size. My mom was the type that she'd smack me first and figure out later if I really did it or not. That was my dad. My dad, he believed what somebody said and then later would sit down with me and be like, okay, now what's your side? And I'd be like, but I didn't do it. And he'd be like, well, why didn't you say something? I'd be like, I did tell you I didn't do it. That was my dad. I could tell stories from my career that you not be able to ever forget, things that don't need to be in your memory. I am sure. Hey, nursing our travel bug. Hello. Brainwashing the media is an example. I don't ever watch the news anymore.
Yeah, we don't either.
Who has paid attention to the Anne Heche story? The actress Anne Heche. Who's been watching that? Leave me a comment and let me know if you paid any attention to the Anne Heche story. I'm going to go do some internal damage to a Big Mac here in about 10 minutes. Please don't make that next Sunday story. I can't do Big Macs. And now when I eat, because I've been on a health journey, like Nettie, we've both been doing health journeys. So if I'm out and about and my family stops and gets McDonald's, I'll get a cheeseburger and I take the bun off of it and I just eat one bun with the burger. And it's so good that way, but I still feel like I'm cheating because it's McDonald's, but I just eat one bun. But okay, I may have to do a live or a video on the Anne Heche story because it seems nobody is answering about it and whether or not they've heard about it. But about half of the Anne Heche story, any updates? Haven't seen any lately. Okay, so Lucky Dog paid attention to it. Okay. I will do a separate video and talk about it. But if you guys have not, you are in for a whirlwind of a story about her. I am now listening to her book to hear her life story, and then I will come on here and I will talk about it. But what I will tell you is there is a picture out there after she crashed her car and was in her car for 2 hours and her car was on fire. They put her in a bag, you know, the bags that zip up, and they were putting her into the ambulance, and she sat up out of the bag.
Holy moly.
And there's a picture of her doing it. She passed away. Like she was pronounced brain dead at the hospital.
Wow.
But she sat up out of that bag. How does that happen? I don't know.
There's a lot of nightmares. Nightmares.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to wrap it up now, but I will do a story on Anne Heche then because it is kind of a crazy story.
Yeah.
If she was burned, that's not unusual. Maybe. The rest of her story is kind of unusual, though. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I have thoroughly enjoyed this 3-part series with you, Nettie. It has been amazing.
Yes, I've enjoyed it too. Mm-hmm.
As always, I love our Sundays with everyone.
Mm-hmm.
They've definitely gone over our usual hour,
Yeah.
but it's been a lot of fun to do it with you. So thank you everyone for coming. Wishing you all much kindness and much love.
And we're sending love your way. Good night.
Bye everyone.